He set the record for most passing yards in a season at 4,281. And I thought it was really great that he did it today and not week 18. The Major League Baseball home run record, for years, everybody was chasing Babe Ruth's record. And then they chased Roger Maris's record. But when they were chasing Babe Ruth's record, and then people that Roger breaks it and everybody after, they did it in a different number of games, 162 games instead of 154 games. So, the single season passing record for the 49ers is not something that most people talk about. It's a franchise that measures its success on championships, Hall of Fame quarterbacks, all-time greats at multiple positions. The Niners are an organization that don't have to define themselves by the numbers other than the number of championships won, because there's so much greatness that just hits you in the face. You don't have to dig into the history books. And the fact that Jeff Garcia previously held the record, I don't want to say cheapens it, but kind of does, right? Just in the sense that it shines a light on the fact that eras are different. You don't look at that and go, well, Joe Montana never had as good a year as Jeff Garcia, right? So that's part of that record. Is it's not everything. That said, it's pretty incredible that this guy who was the last pick of the draft 2 years ago didn't just become a starting quarterback, didn't just win a ton of games, but set a single season franchise passing record. And not for the Texans, right? Not for the Seahawks, all due respect to the Seahawks, who've been good lately, but for one of the greatest franchises in American sports and a top 5 franchise in the NFL. Like, that's insane. So good for Brock, a guy who had an elbow surgery in the offseason. It's definitely a reminder, and some things should just be left in the past, and other things should not. One thing that should not be left in the past is that some people thought that Brock Purdy should have been competing with Trey Lance for the 49ers starting quarterback job. And some of you might be thinking, guys, the last day of 2023, I hope you leave this in 2023. I will not leave this in 2023. It was so disingenuous. It was so bad to watch like 3 practices, or however many practices anybody who had that opinion had watched, and think that that's what should have been happening. And I'm glad I went to way too many off-season practices for the 49ers. And I'm glad that I logged way more passes than anybody ever has in the history of preseason, off-season, and non-competitive football. I probably will not do it again. There won't be a reason, in all likelihood, to do it again. But there was a reason to do it, Guy Football Focus, in 2023. And the reason was my belief that there was an opinion out there so flawed, so off base, so ridiculous, but it happened in such a small, enclosed, dark place, meaning not everybody, it wasn't on television, that somebody had to go in there and figure out what was real and what was fake. And that was one of the fakest, most made-up, agenda-driven BS stories of 2023. I don't have a list of the other most fake, agenda-driven BS sports stories of 2023, but Trey Lance should have the right to compete with Brock Purdy for the starting quarterback job of the San Francisco 49ers is at the top of my list. That was a joke. It remains a joke. It becomes a bigger joke with every week that passes. We'll find out if it becomes a bigger joke with every season that passes. But it became a bigger joke with every week that passes. And then you look up, and the guy set a single season franchise passing record. Whatever that's worth to you, it's worth to you. But even if it's worth nothing to you, it's still worth something for the sake of this conversation. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't believe it then. Believes it even less now. And just another feather in Brock Purdy's cap that he won't really care about. But I think, so many of these things that happen with young quarterbacks, the reason young quarterbacks are the most fun thing to talk about in all the sports, it's because you look out at them and go, who are they? What will they become? And have we found the answer? Chasing franchise quarterbacks can take a decade. It can take longer. I mean, look at the Lions, right? Look at some of these franchises. Look at the Niners. Look how long they were searching. How many things happened that were accidental? How many things happened that were on purpose? Like, they spent as much as, well, not as much as you can spend, but they went out, they drafted Alex Smith. It took forever, almost a decade, for Alex Smith to even look like he was going to reach his potential. And then accidentally, they found a guy that helped him get to the Super Bowl, Kaepernick. And then they hunted and hunted and hunted and hunted. And they got this guy out of the sky, Jimmy Garoppolo. He fell out of the sky. Was good enough. They're like, not good enough. We got to go all in. Go get Trey Lance. Disaster. Last pick of the draft. It's just so hard to find a guy that might be your franchise quarterback. That when you might have your franchise quarterback, it's one of the biggest stories, certainly for your organization, but in all of sports. When you're the Niners, it's one of the biggest stories in sports because they're one of the biggest stories in sports. So they might have their guy. That's been the story for a year. And there are just so many things that he does, so many things that he has done that point to the real possibility that he'll be the quarterback for the next decade. But now he's got this record at such a young age. Now he's got a 1 seed. Now he's got a team around him that might win a Super Bowl. And when you do that at 23, 24, 25 years old, early, it sets the franchise and the player up on a whole other path. When you just go to the Super Bowl, it does that. But you see, I mean, look at the Eagles this year. To me, I always go back to early on with Seattle, and obviously the way things have played out with Russ in the second half of his career have been weird. But they go out early. The team is not built around him, but he's critical. They go win the championship. They had a shot. They really should have won a second. And it just set him up. It set that whole organization up for, a solid a stretch of being Super Bowl contenders. And so that's what's ahead of the 49ers right now. And that's why everything, and I said this last week, I think. Or no, I said it last week. It's like all of this stuff is about winning the championship. They've checked all these other boxes. For Kyle Shanahan, it is so much about winning the championship. For Kittle, for Warner, for Debo, like McCaffrey's weaving career, all these guys who have been so close, who felt like they've been on championship teams, who've had some of the most talented rosters. You go back to the Harbaugh years, some of the most talented rosters. This franchise has gotten so close. So close. And when you get so close, not only does it really hurt when you lose, people start to question, do you have that last 2% that gets it done? Like, as an example, the college football semifinals are going to happen on Monday. You might be listening to this after the Rose Bowl where Harbaugh plays Saban. So I might be right. I might be wrong about this. I don't think Harbaugh's winning that game. I don't think Harbaugh's winning the national championship. Jim's an excellent football coach. 99.9% of teams in football should hire Jim Harbaugh. I really question. And I bet against him in big games just because I don't think he's got that last 1%. That his teams are buttoned down enough. I don't think they prepare quite as well as the best coaches do to really win the championship. And I don't think he's gonna. I don't think he will. I think Kyle has that, but he hasn't done it. And so that argument rages. So anyway, 1 seed, franchise record for a quarterback, rest at the end of the year. All of these things together just lead to just an incredible 2023. And even though it has not been perfect for them. That's the crazy part. They just got the week 18 bye. Their quarterback just set a franchise record. And this season it's been really good, but it hasn't been perfect. It has not been a everything goes right type of season for them. And yet here they are, which is, it's real. It makes it very real. It's a lot of people before the Niners-Eagles game. People said, the Eagles, they can't be this. They are their process doesn't match their results. And maybe the Niners broke them, or maybe all those people were just right. All those close games, all those close calls for the Eagles, the process just didn't match the results. So, the other thing on Brock, I just want to go through a few things from the Brock game. I thought he looked really decisive coming off the 4 interceptions, the 4 interception game that, it's been talked about. All 4 of those picks were different, but he looked decisive. He looked healthy. He looked not humbled because he did some crazy stuff, but he looked really under control to me. I think he did do what he said he was going to do. He said a couple days ago that one of the lessons he learned from the Ravens game when he threw the interception in the end zone to Kyle Hamilton on the first series was like, don't get the fact that you hit a couple big plays in your dome and get you too amped up, and then you try to do too much. And he looked today just so under control, so within the offense. He made a couple of really good plays outside of the offense, but from the jump he looked decisive and under control. And he was, even though the game was close at halftime, I thought he played a pretty tight game early, and 12 of 17 just looked solid, looked really solid. And then he did some special things as the game went on. And you look up, and he was 22 of 28 for 230, 2 touchdowns, no picks. On a day that everybody's talking about Lamar Jackson just wrapped up the MVP. 22 of 28, 79%. Coming off of, it's Washington, of course. Ravens, different animal. But coming off of that game, how would he respond? I didn't have any question about how he would respond. I didn't question at all how he'd respond. I didn't rethink anything about Brock. I told you I thought Brock's fine coming out of that Ravens game. But I thought he looked more than fine. I thought he looked just dialed in. I'm not going to do too much. I think the game plan, what I said earlier about Kyle believing, like, if we don't make mistakes, we'll be fine. I think he communicated that to Brock. And it's why Brock was just throwing the ball away in the red zone. There was nothing there. And early in the game, I think they could have gone no play action throws today and just been quick throws all day long and probably scored more than 27. Like early in that first drive, his first 2 throws were just get the ball out, first read. And, the beauty with him is he can process so quick, but he gets the ball out fast and on target. And it's just, they're fine. They're in such good shape. All right. So anyway, a couple things I wanted to get to with him. Just in terms of his game, let me get to my Purdy notes here. The throw to Kyle Juszczyk, the incompletion to Juszczyk on the first drive, great throw. Fantastic throw. Right on the money. They got a kind of a phantom, I thought a BS holding call, not on the Juszczyk contact. If Kyle catches that ball, I don't think he scores. He's probably down at the 1 of the 2. And it's one of the great in the highlight reel of Kyle Juszczyk catches. That's got to be killing Kyle right now. He's on the plane watching this live stream probably, or listening to this podcast Monday morning. That's the first thing he's going to do when he gets up after New Year's. And he's just going to be kicking himself that he didn't make that catch, as it was a tough ass catch. And he had it. And then, just when you hit the ground fully extended, it's so hard to hold on. But that was a really good throw from Brock. Brock had a couple really good deep ball throws in this game. That was one of them. The throw to Ayuk for 7, the second possession of the game for the Niners on 3rd down and 9. I was interested how they would play 3rd downs today. 3rd and 9, blitz comes up between the left guard and the right guard and the right tackle. McCaffrey picks it up, and Purdy unfazed. Purdy is unfazed. I mean, when you pick up the blitz, unfazed. Next throw, Debo, strike over the middle. Again, really decisive throw. But I thought what was really impressive from Brock today, a couple of things. The couple of the deep balls, the throw to Ayuk for the touchdown, which we'll get to, but also what he looked like when the game was tied at 10-10. And you're like, is this for real? Is this game really 10-10? Seriously? You guys are going to go play the Commanders 10-10? Is that what this is going to be at the half? You guys can go to the half tied 10-10 with the Commanders? The answer was no. So how did Brock look in that spot when the game was tight? Because it's easy to dismiss. It's just the Commanders. Game was tied 10-10. Pressure. Purdy comes out, 18 yards to Kittle. I think the Niners, I don't know how to check this. You'd have to go through the play-by-play box scores. They hit Kittle on the first play of a drive. It feels like 70% of Kittle's big plays come on the first play of a drive. Not the first down, but a first play of a drive. So he hits Kittle for a big play. Next play hits Ayuk for 21. Boom, boom. You go, breathe a little easy. Okay. Then in the red zone, some of you guys might have caught this on TV. 2nd down and 2. He's got Debo lined up right. He's got Ayuk lined up left. He's got I behind him with Juszczyk. Play clock is low. It's like 8, 7, 6. No panic. He doesn't like, for whatever reason, the alignment. Juszczyk took, maybe Brock will explain it. He goes, hey, Debo, over here. He moves. Debo's kind of looking at him like, am I in the right spot? He says no. He swaps Debo and Ayuk. No panic. Play clock at 3, 2, snap the ball. And McCaffrey got a 13-yard carry and a first down. Now, they end up kicking the field goal. But I just thought that was a big drive. 10-10. How are you going to look? Are you going to crack a little bit? Are you going to step up? He made big throws. So loved that drive. Second half, little Kittle takes that huge hit, almost made a great catch. That was a solid throw. Ayuk for 38 yards down the right sideline. He had two of his best plays of the year in this game. Brock Purdy had two of his best throws of the year in this game. Forget about not to the touchdown yet, but when he hit Brandon Ayuk, 38 yards down the right sideline, and Ayuk caught the back of the ball just over the fingertips of the defender. That's one of the best downfield throws we've seen a Niner quarterback make since Sam Darnold hit Ronnie Bell in the preseason. Similar throw. It was one of Brock's best throws of the year. And you loved it because it was a rare, over-the-top explosive play, right? So many of those explosive plays are not that over-the-top, one-on-one sideline throw. That was an over-the-top, one-on-one sideline throw, which we just don't get a lot of out of the 49ers offense. And he had a lot of time to throw, and he loaded up, and it was a gorgeous throw. It was an absolutely, you could not have made that throw any more perfect. Now, as a Brock defender, as someone who is in the camp of Brock is not a game manager, Brock does so much more than game managers. I do laugh when I hear, and Moose Johnson, who's I really enjoy him and Joe Davis. I like that crew. He says, if anyone says Brock is a game manager, there's that throw for you. And where I would disagree with Moose is one great throw is not what proves that you're not a game manager. Tommy DeVito can make a great throw. Tyrod Taylor can make a great throw. Joshua Dobbs can make a great throw. Jake Browning can make a great throw. What proves that you're not a game manager is that you repeatedly make really excellent throws. You repeatedly make very good decisions. And, you just do things that most guys, the consistency. The irony is that everyone thinks game managers are the most consistent, but actually game managers, I think, are inconsistent players at a certain level, and that they don't consistently make the special plays. And I think Brock consistently makes really special throws, consistently drops the ball over the middle. His throws over the middle, when he layers it over a linebacker, gets it in front of a safety, those are some of the toughest kind of 2 feet set degree of difficulty throws that you'll see every Sunday in the league. Now, Lamar made this crazy throw to Odell today. That's just, Brock doesn't make that play kind of 1 foot sidearm. It just, there are some arm strength throws and athleticism throws that are different. But in terms of making elite level throws consistently, he does it. And that's what game managers don't do. That one throw, when you combine with all his other throws, it was one of his best throws of the year, which when you're a game manager isn't saying much. But when you're a guy that consistently makes excellent throws, says a lot, and that was one of his best throws of the year. It was really a better throw than even the throw that got everybody's attention, which was the Mahomes scramble and touchdown. That play was great. 3rd and 10. Well, again, what are you going to do on 3rd down? Scramble right. Pointing. Ayuk cuts it back, and he hits him in the end zone. That was a great play. Partly because the escape was the great play for him. And, we've seen him do that this year where he does the point. And he explained, remember the first time it happened? What game was that? The first time he did that and explained after the game, where was that? In the back of the end zone. Who's that again? Was it Jacksonville maybe? I think it was Jacksonville, right? It might have been the Jacksonville game where he was pointing in the back of the end zone. It was the play that he threw it to Ayuk at the top, and Ayuk went up and got it in front of the pylon. And it was the play that after the game he basically apologized for. I shouldn't throw that ball. Yeah, it was the Jags game. After that game, remember what he said? He said he was nodding to Ayuk. Whichever way he nodded, he hoped Ayuk or Kittle, whoever he was supposed to throw it to, he hoped that the guy that saw the nod did the opposite. Well, this time he threw the ball where he pointed this time. So this time there was no trickery. It was go that way, I'm going to throw it that way. And he did it. So that was a great play. Just a string of really good plays today in a game that, looked pretty standard Brock Purdy. But when you really look at it, he made multiple excellent throws, multiple excellent decisions. I've thought for a few years, if a quarterback is a 79% passer, then something's kind of wrong. It's just not a real stat. And today was a 79% passer. Not in individual games I'm talking for seasons. If a guy's a 79%, 75, 74% passer for a season, you got to examine okay, that's not real. It doesn't happen. And And he's not a 79% passer for the season. So we're not talking about that. But to come off a 4 interception game, to be in a 10-10 game, to look a little rattled last week. But as I said, the thing about him that I really loved was even at times when after he had kind of entered the slightly rattled zone against the Ravens, he still made a ton of really good throws. And still showed guts. And, so I wasn't worried about him, but he made some gutty throws again in this game. And it's easy to say, well, you're playing Washington, not as much on the line. Game was tied 10-10. And he still made some great throws.